They sold you a fairy tale wrapped in poison. Be good, and good will find you. Treat others how you want to be treated. Your time will come. Lies. Beautiful, soul-destroying lies. You played by their rules. You colored inside their lines. You swallowed your rage, dimmed your fire, bent yourself into shapes that pleased everyone except the person staring back at you in the mirror. And where did it get you? Watching wolves in sheep's clothing devour your dreams while you stood there holding the door open. Watching manipulators climb ladders built from your broken back. Watching the world crown those who schemed, lied, and clawed their way to power, while you waited patiently for justice that never came. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to make friends. He wrote it because he understood what you're finally beginning to see. The world is a battlefield disguised as a garden, and you've been fighting with flowers while everyone else brought swords. You know what hurts most? It's not the betrayal itself. It's the moment you realize you saw it coming and ignored every screaming instinct because you wanted to believe in the good that doesn't exist in them. That colleague who smiled while stealing your ideas. That lover who whispered forever while texting someone else. That family member who demanded loyalty but offered none. That friend who knew your wounds and pressed their fingers exactly where it hurt most. You've been their puppet, their doormat, their emotional landfill, their backup plan, their safe option, their convenient excuse. And somewhere between the 1000th betrayal and the moment you stopped recognizing yourself, something inside you cracked, not broke, transformed. Because Machiavelli knew something that your scars are teaching you now. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. But here's what he really meant. Never let them see you coming until it's too late for them to run. You've been their victim long enough. You've bled enough. You've given enough. You've forgiven enough. You've understood enough. You've been patient enough. You've been enough. This isn't about revenge. Revenge is what the weak crave because they're still attached to the ones who hurt them. This is about revolution, your personal, ruthless, unstoppable revolution. This is about taking every lesson carved into your flesh and forging them into armor. This is about becoming so dangerous, so untouchable, so strategically brilliant that they'll wish they'd cherished you when you were still soft. The old you died the moment they pushed you too far. What rises from those ashes doesn't ask for permission, doesn't beg for scraps, doesn't wait for karma. What rises, takes. Now let's get into it. Number 1. You paid with your soul while they counted their profit. Remember when you gave them everything and called it love? Your 3 a.m. panic attacks became their bedtime stories. Your skeleton of secrets became their entertainment at parties. Your loyalty became their safety net while they jumped into beds that weren't yours. You didn't just give pieces of yourself. You performed surgery on your own soul, removing parts you thought made you unworthy, reshaping yourself into something they could tolerate. Smaller, quieter, less demanding, more convenient. And they took your offerings like tribute to a god that was never listening. Machiavelli observed, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see but few can feel." They saw what you gave. They never felt the cost. You know what they never tell you about generosity? That vultures can smell an open heart from miles away. That emotional availability looks like weakness to predators. That the moment you show them you'll bleed for them, they start wondering how much blood you have left. You became their free therapist who couldn't afford therapy for yourself. Emergency contact who had nobody to call in emergencies. Cheerleader celebrating their wins while your losses went unnoticed. Photograph, something to look at when convenient, forgotten when not. And the sickest part, You called it connection. You convinced yourself that sacrifice equals love, that suffering proves devotion, that if you could just give a little more, be a little better, try a little harder, they'd finally see your worth. But Machiavelli knew what you're learning in blood and tears. People don't value what they didn't earn. They don't cherish what came easy. They don't protect what cost them nothing. You gave them access to vaults they never deserved to enter. Your pain, your past, your fears, your dreams, the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are. And they used it as ammunition the moment you stopped being useful. That vulnerability you shared in confidence became gossip. That trauma you revealed in trust became mockery. That dream you confessed in hope became proof you were delusional. They took your gold and called it worthless. They took your pearls and fed them to swine. They took your fire and used it to burn you. Here's your ruthless recalibration. Stop investing in people who wouldn't lend you their spare change. The ones who matter will earn your depth. They'll prove they can handle your darkness before you show them your light. They'll demonstrate their loyalty before you trust them with your truth. Everyone else? They get the surface, the smile, the polite conversation, the version of you that costs nothing and reveals less. Machiavelli built his philosophy on this foundation. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Stop waiting to learn this lesson the hard way, again and again and again. Your soul isn't a free sample. Your energy isn't a charity case. Your love isn't a participation trophy everyone gets just for showing up. From now on, people pay up front, with consistency, with respect, with reciprocity, with the same intensity they're demanding from you, or they don't get in at all. Drop this in the comments. Closed for leeches. Number 2. The knife you didn't see was held by someone you fed. Betrayal doesn't announce itself with thunder. It comes with a smile you've seen 1,000 times. A voice that once said, "I love you," now saying, "I never meant it." Hands that held yours now holding the rope they'll use to hang you with. The worst wounds don't come from enemies. Enemies are expected, predictable, honest in their hatred. No, the cuts that never heal come from the ones you fed when they were starving, the ones you sheltered when they were homeless, the ones you believed in when the entire world gave up on them. Machiavelli warned, men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. You didn't just allow it, you invited it. You saw the red flags and called them pink. You heard the lies and called them miscommunication. You felt the disrespect and called it a bad day. Because you wanted to believe. God, how desperately you wanted to believe that your faith in them would transform them into someone worthy of it. You know what kills you? It's not that they stabbed you, it's that they practiced on you. They tested how much you'd tolerate, how many times you'd forgive, how far they could push before you'd finally push back. Every boundary you didn't enforce became a permission slip. Every warning sign you ignored became an instruction manual for how to destroy you. They studied you like Machiavelli studied power, calculating, methodical, patient. They learned which buttons to press, which words would melt your defenses, which memories would make you vulnerable. And then they used everything you gave them against you. Your secrets became their leverage. Your trauma became their excuse. Your love became their shield when you finally tried to hold them accountable. "After everything I've done for you," you said. "After everything I've put up with from you," they replied. And suddenly, you were the villain in a story you never wanted to be in. Here's your ruthless awakening. The people closest to you have the sharpest aim. Stop giving them ammunition. Stop teaching them where you're soft. Stop showing them the map to your destruction. Machiavelli built empires on this truth. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer, and your secrets closest. They'll betray what they know. Protect what they don't. Number 3. You drowned, trying to save those who could swim. You've been the lifeguard for people who knew how to swim. They weren't drowning. They were performing, thrashing around, screaming for help, making you believe that without you, they'd sink to the bottom and never come back up. So you jumped in, again and again and again. You held them above water until your arms went numb. You swallowed ocean until your lungs burned. You stayed under until you couldn't remember what breathing felt like. And the moment you let go, the moment you couldn't hold them anymore, they swam, easily, effortlessly, like they'd known how all along. Machiavelli understood this manipulation. The greatest remedy that is used against a conspiracy is to take away the ability of the conspirators to execute their plan. Their plan was simple. Keep you so busy saving them that you'd never notice you were the one who needed saving. Keep you so focused on their crisis that you'd ignore your own collapse. Keep you so invested in their happiness that you'd sacrifice your own without hesitation. You know what's sick? They trained you. Every time you tried to step back, they created a bigger emergency. Every time you set a boundary, they manufactured a breakdown. Every time you focused on yourself, suddenly they couldn't survive without you. And you fell for it every single time. Because you're good, because you care, because somewhere in your beautiful, naive heart, you believed that if you just loved them hard enough, saved them completely enough, they'd finally become someone who could love you back. But Machiavelli knew what you're learning now. He who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner effects his ruin than his preservation. You neglected yourself for what they should have been, and it ruined you. Your dreams? Postponed. Your goals? Sacrificed. Your peace? Destroyed. Your identity? Dissolved into being their permanent rescue mission. Here's your ruthless realization. Stop saving people who refuse to save themselves. Let them sink. Let them struggle. Let them face the consequences of their choices without you as their parachute. Not because you're cruel, because you're finally awake. You're realizing that some people don't want solutions. They want enablers. They don't want to heal. They want an audience for their suffering. And you're done performing in their tragedy. Machiavelli would tell you, save your strength for battles worth fighting. This isn't yours anymore. Number 4. They built thrones from your spine while you bowed. You didn't just support them. You became their architecture. Your strength became their stairs. Your dignity became their crown. Your silence became their empire. Every time you bit your tongue, they spoke louder. Every time you made yourself smaller, they expanded into the space you vacated. Every time you apologized for existing, they celebrated their dominance over you. You thought you were being humble, noble, selfless. You were being dismantled, Machiavelli declared. Whoever believes that great advancement and new benefits make men forget old injuries is mistaken. You thought your submission would earn their gratitude, their respect, their acknowledgement of everything you sacrificed so they could rise. Instead, they learned that you were controllable, that you'd accept less, demand nothing, tolerate everything, that you'd set yourself on fire to keep them warm and thank them for the privilege of burning. You know the most devastating part. You volunteered for this. Nobody forced you to shrink. Nobody commanded you to serve. Nobody demanded you erase yourself. You did it willingly, eagerly, desperately hoping that if you just made yourself useful enough, you'd finally become valuable. But Machiavelli knew the sick truth about power. Men rise from one ambition to another. First, they seek to secure themselves against attack, and then they attack others. First, they needed you beneath them. Then, they needed you beneath them forever. Your compliance became their expectation. Your sacrifice became their entitlement. Your pain became their proof that the hierarchy was working exactly as designed. When you finally stood up, when you finally said, "Enough," they didn't see growth. They saw rebellion. How dare you demand equality in a system built on your inferiority? How dare you want reciprocity in a relationship founded on your servitude? How dare you expect respect from people who required your submission to feel powerful? Here's your ruthless revolution. Stop building kingdoms for people who wouldn't give you a room in the palace. Your spine isn't construction material. Your self-worth isn't negotiable. Your existence isn't a supporting role in someone else's story. Machiavelli advised princes on how to rule, but here's what he'd tell you. It is better to be bold than cautious, because fortune is a woman, and if you wish to keep her under, it is necessary to beat and ill-use her. Stop being cautious with your power. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop asking permission to exist at full volume. They built empires on your back. Watch what happens when you stand up and walk away. Let their thrones turn to dust. Number 5. The war was already won before you realized you were fighting. You thought you were in a relationship, a friendship, a partnership, a family. They knew it was a competition. While you were building connections, they were building strategies. While you were offering trust, they were calculating advantage. While you were opening your heart, they were studying your weaknesses. You entered the arena holding flowers. They'd been sharpening swords for months. Machiavelli observed, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Look around you, really look. Who benefits from your exhaustion? Who profits from your confusion? Who thrives on your self-doubt? Who needs you broken to feel whole? Those are your opponents. They always were. You just refuse to see the game because you don't think like a predator. You know what they did? They made you believe the war was in your head. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. You're being paranoid. You're creating problems that don't exist. Gaslighting isn't just lying. It's tactical warfare. It's making you question your own perception so completely that you can't trust yourself enough to defend yourself. And while you were drowning in self-doubt, second-guessing every instinct, they were winning, easily, methodically, without you even knowing the score. Every boundary you set, they found the loophole. Every standard you established, they found the exception. Every line you drew, they erased it and blamed you for being inflexible. They didn't break your rules. They made you feel guilty for having them. They didn't cross your boundaries. They convinced you that having boundaries made you unlovable. They didn't violate your trust. They redefined what trust meant until it only required them to receive and you to give. Machiavelli knew, where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. They had the willingness to manipulate, to deceive, to exploit, to win at any cost, even if that cost was your destruction. And you had the willingness to believe, to forgive, to hope, to see the best in people who were showing you their worst. Here's your ruthless awakening. The war started the moment they decided you were an obstacle to what they wanted. Maybe that was control. Maybe that was validation. Maybe that was supply. Maybe that was simply the sick satisfaction of dominating someone good. But the war began long before you noticed, and they've been winning because you didn't know you were supposed to fight back. You don't need to become them. You don't need to scheme and manipulate and destroy, but you need to recognize the game. You need to see the battlefield. You need to understand that some people don't want peace. They want victory over you. And once you see it, once you finally understand that this was never love, never friendship, never family, just combat disguised as connection, you stop fighting fair in a rigged game. You stop bringing flowers to a knife fight. You stop playing by rules they never followed. Machiavelli would whisper, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." The danger isn't in becoming ruthless. The danger is in staying naive. Number 6. Your mercy became their permission slip. Forgiveness is beautiful. Forgiveness is divine. Forgiveness is what they use as a weapon against you. You forgave the first betrayal. You forgave the second. By the third, fourth, 10th, you weren't forgiving anymore. You were enabling. Every time you took them back, you taught them a lesson. Not about love, not about second chances, about consequence-free cruelty. Machiavelli warned, benefits should be granted little by little so that they may be better enjoyed. But punishments should be swift, decisive, permanent. Because when you hesitate to enforce consequences, you're not showing mercy, you're showing weakness, and they'll exploit it again and again and again. You thought forgiveness would inspire change, that your grace would awaken their conscience, that your compassion would make them realize what they almost lost. Instead, it became their playbook. Hurt you, apologize, get forgiven, repeat. The tears, rehearsed. The promises, hollow. The remorse, performance art designed to buy them another round of access to your heart so they could violate it again. You know what's destroying you? It's not that they hurt you. It's that you let them back in, knowing they would. You chose the fantasy of who they could be over the reality of who they are. You chose hope over evidence. You chose the potential you saw in them over the consistent pain they gave you. And Machiavelli would tell you what you already know in your bones. Men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries. Of more serious ones, they cannot. Your forgiveness was the lighter injury they knew they could survive. Your boundaries had no teeth. Your warnings had no weight. Your ultimatums had no consequences. Here's your ruthless evolution. Forgiveness without consequences is just permission to hurt you again. Stop forgiving what they haven't changed. Stop accepting apologies that aren't followed by transformation. Stop opening doors they've proven they'll only kick down. Real remorse rebuilds trust through action, not words. Real change demonstrates consistency, not performance. Real love respects boundaries, not violates them repeatedly while begging for another chance. Some people don't deserve your mercy, they deserve your absence. Machiavelli knew some enemies can only be defeated by removing them from the board entirely. Not with violence, with indifference, with permanent, unapologetic, ruthless removal from your life. Number 7. They feared your light, so they convinced you it was darkness. You were never too much. You were too powerful for people who needed you powerless. Your passion? They called it crazy. Your standards? They called them impossible. Your boundaries? They called them selfish. Your confidence? They called it arrogance. Your voice? They called it aggression. They didn't critique you. They dismantled you, word by word, doubt by doubt, insecurity by insecurity, until you looked in the mirror and saw the monster they created instead of the masterpiece you were. Machiavelli understood this tactic. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. They couldn't destroy you directly, you were too strong. So they made you destroy yourself. They planted the poison and watched you drink it willingly, believing it was medicine. Maybe I am too intense. Maybe I do expect too much. Maybe I should quiet down. Maybe I should ask for less. Maybe I'm the problem. And the moment you believed it, they won. You dimmed yourself, apologized for existing at full volume, made yourself digestible to people who were never hungry for authenticity, only for control. You edited your personality like a rough draft they kept marking up with red ink. Cut this, soften that, remove this edge, hide that fire. Be less of what makes you you and more of what makes them comfortable. And you know what happened. Even after you shrunk yourself down to nothing, it still wasn't enough. Because it was never about you being too much. It was about them being threatened by anyone who refused to play small in a world that rewards smallness. Your light reminded them of their darkness. Your growth reminded them of their stagnation. Your evolution reminded them of their cowardice. Your refusal to settle reminded them of their surrender. So they did what threatened people always do. They tried to extinguish you. Here's your ruthless reclamation. You were never the darkness they described. You were the light they couldn't control. Machiavelli knew that power attracts sabotage. Princes ought to choose the wise men in his state and give to them only the liberty of speaking the truth to him. Stop listening to people who benefit from your silence. Stop accepting criticism from people who've never built anything. Stop shrinking for an audience that will never applaud your authenticity. Your intensity isn't a flaw. Your standards aren't unreasonable. Your boundaries aren't cruel. Your confidence isn't arrogance. You're just too bright for people who live in caves. Let them stay in darkness. You were born to burn. Number 8. The kingdom you seek won't be built by begging for bricks. You've been asking permission from people who don't own what you want, begging for love from those incapable of giving it, seeking validation from those who profit from your insecurity, requesting opportunities from gatekeepers who built their gates to keep you out. You've been praying for miracles while sitting on the raw materials to build your own heaven. Machiavelli declared, God is not willing to do everything and thus take away our free will and that share of glory which belongs to us. Translation: the universe isn't coming to save you. You are the cavalry. Every second you spend waiting for rescue is a second you're not spending building your escape. Every moment you spend hoping they'll change is a moment. You're not changing your circumstances. Every ounce of energy you waste on people who don't deserve it is energy stolen from the empire you could be constructing. Look at the ones who win. Really look at them. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't ask if they were qualified. They didn't beg for seats at tables. They built their own tables and decided who could sit. They weren't more talented than you. They weren't more deserving. They weren't more worthy. They were more ruthless, more willing to bet on themselves when everyone else counted them out, more committed to their vision than to other people's validation. You've spent years trying to earn what you should have simply taken. Respect. Stop performing for it. Command it. Love. Stop begging for it. Become it. Success. Stop hoping for it. Architect it. Machiavelli observed the princes who inherited kingdoms and those who conquered them. He concluded, those who solely by good fortune become princes from being private citizens have little trouble in rising, but much in keeping atop. What comes easy goes easy. What you build through blood, strategy, sacrifice, discipline, and ruthless execution, that stays. You know why you're still empty? Because you're waiting for someone to fill you instead of realizing you're the source. That validation you're chasing, it's already inside you, buried under years of being told you needed external approval to matter. That love you're desperate for. You're capable of giving it to yourself more powerfully than anyone else ever could. That success you dream about. You have everything required to build it, except the audacity to start without permission. Here's your final ruthless transformation. Stop waiting for the world to give you what you can take. Stop begging broken people to fix you. Stop asking dream killers to believe in your vision. Stop seeking approval from those who are threatened by your potential. Machiavelli's princes didn't inherit power, they seized it. They didn't wait for crowns, they forged them. They didn't hope for kingdoms, they conquered them. You want love? Become so whole that you're complete with or without it. You want respect? Build something so undeniable they have no choice but to acknowledge it. You want power? Take it from a world that only gives to those bold enough to demand it. The kingdom you seek won't be handed to you by those who fear your reign. Build it yourself. Rule it ruthlessly. Defend it mercilessly. And when they finally recognize what you've become, when they come crawling back, begging for access to the empire they mocked you for building, remember who you were when they tried to keep you in chains. You came into this world soft, trusting, believing in fairness, in karma, in the inherent goodness of people who smiled while sharpening knives behind their backs. The world took that softness and weaponized it against you. But something happened in the breaking, didn't it? Something alchemical, something they never anticipated. You didn't just survive, you evolved. Every betrayal became a lesson in discernment. Every abandonment became a masterclass in self-reliance. Every wound became proof that you could bleed and still stand. Every scar became armor. Machiavelli wrote The Prince not as a guide to cruelty, but as a manual for survival in a world that devours the weak. He understood what you now know in your bones. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Not because fear is superior to love, but because respect is non-negotiable, and some people only respect what they cannot control, cannot manipulate, cannot destroy. This is your declaration, your revolution, your rebirth. You're done shrinking for people who were never going to make room for you anyway. You're done explaining yourself to those who were never trying to understand. You're done fighting for scraps from tables where you should have been seated as an equal. You're done being the background character in a story where you were always meant to be the author. The world broke you, and from those shattered pieces, you built something unbreakable. Someone who knows their worth and enforces it. Someone who loves themselves more than they fear loneliness. Someone who builds empires while others build excuses. Someone who takes what they deserve instead of begging for what should have been freely given. You are no longer the person they underestimated. You are the reckoning they should have feared. Machiavelli would look at what you've become and recognize a kindred spirit. Someone who learned that in a world without mercy, ruthlessness isn't cruelty. It's survival, it's power, it's justice. The world will break you unless you become ruthless enough to break it first. And you? You just did. Drop this in the comments. The old me is dead.